Hey there. Today I want to talk with you about whether there is a connection between 5G cellular networks and the COVID-19 pandemic. Just in case you don't know, my name is Stephen Pollitt. I'm the creator of Source-Energy-Medicine. Now, to be able to pull all the pieces together, all the various theories and data points, I'm going to tell you a little story, if I may. And it does start way back at our beginning as humans. Now, according to teachings from A Course in Miracles, we asked God for free will, and He granted our wish. To protect us, He then created the universal law of cause and effect, which I really see as the grandmother of all universal laws. It governs our everyday lives, and to a large degree, what I experience on a day-to-day basis is the effect of the cause side of the equation. There is a teaching from A Course in Miracles that loosely stated teaches us that there's a point beyond which the Son of God cannot miscreate. Beyond this point, we experience the full ramifications of our actions, right? Our cause and the effect side are significant, right? Significant results. Now, the current theory that is agreed upon among medical researchers who are studying virus, who are studying infectious disease, believe that viruses are excretions from humans as the result of sick cells, toxic cells. The cell's basically trying to stay alive, so it excretes a toxin. And this excretion is indeed what we do now call a virus. Certainly there are other theories about where viruses come from, including from labs. But yet, think about this for a moment. Go back to free will. I can choose to eat artificial chemicalized, highly processed foods. I can ingest pharmaceutical drugs, recreational drugs, drink excessive amounts of alcohol. I can engage in destructive thoughts, feelings, emotions, and behaviors. And unless any of these are really, really extreme, the body miraculously somehow survives. It certainly doesn't come anywhere close to thriving, and yet few people die very quickly as the result of poor food and lifestyle choices. And you can make poor food and lifestyle choices for 40 or 50 or 60 years, which on one hand is miraculous, and on the other hand, it's just completely insane to me. So if you think back to the teaching from A Course in Miracles, there's a point beyond which the Son of God cannot miscreate. How far have we gone as a society? How sick are we collectively that we would create COVID-19? COVID-19 is characterized as a novel virus, which basically means that it's new to humans. This is something that humans have not experienced before. So it is indeed the effect of a society of humans with highly toxic cells. So you might wonder, how else are we poisoning our minds and our bodies globally? This isn't just an issue in North America. Certainly, interrupting the electrical patterns in our bodies, think about it, we're electrical beings. We're greatly affected by electrical and magnetic fields, primarily because we are made of water on a molecular level. We are to a very, very large degree water. Electromagnetic fields, or electromagnetic fields, also known as EMFs, have a significant negative impact on the water in our bodies. What's the latest EMF that's disrupting the electrical flow, therefore the water in human bodies, therefore the cells in our bodies? And I sure hope the answer, G5, is not a surprise for you, or not a stretch to make that connection. So if you think about it, you could live in the most remote place left on this planet, completely off the grid, meaning no electrical service, no electronic devices, and yet you're still being exposed to G5 and other numerous sources of strong EMFs. There is one current theory that I personally find fascinating. It's posed by Dr. Thomas Cowan, a medical doctor practicing in California, and part of his theory is based on the book, The Invisible Rainbow, A History of Electricity and Life. And that's written by Arthur Fistenberg. And Dr. Cowan also ties in some teachings from the Austrian philosopher Rudolf Steiner. Dr. Cowan theorizes every time we have a significant interruption in the electrical field of Earth, humans experience a new pandemic. And this is documented in Fistenberg's book, The Invisible Rainbow. And, Steiner was talking about this in 1918, right after the H1N1 pandemic, in which it's estimated about 500 million people, which then was 1/3 of the population of the world, became infected with the virus. The number of deaths were estimated to be at least 50 million worldwide. So think about this for a moment. Dr. Cowan describes our mobile electronic devices, our Wi-Fi networks, as water destructuring devices. And if you know anything about source energy medicine, you know that source energy medicine is a water structuring technology. Why is source energy medicine so effective? It goes back to my earlier comment about our bodies, to a very large degree at a molecular level, are water. One of the primary benefits of source energy medicine is it not only structures the water in our bodies, but it shifts the frequency of the molecules. This current pandemic, this novel virus, COVID-19, it starts to get really interesting when you think about the facts that a lot of humans have a significant amount of metal in their bodies, likely more than ever before in history. A large percentage of elderly people have significantly higher amounts of metal in their bodies than younger people. Why is this important? Metal is a conductor, and it can act in a similar manner to a radio antenna. So it might not be obvious to you as to why we as humans have unprecedented amounts of metals in our bodies, but if you think about it, surgeries, right? Surgeries for broken bones, traumatic injuries, they often use metal plates and rods and screws, as well as the metal parts that are used in knee and hip replacements that are so common these days, pacemakers and other electronic devices that are implanted into the body, dental fillings and dental appliances, vaccines all have metal in it. And if you really think about it, all of the annual flu shots, which is the elderly population, are strongly encouraged to get them first. So there's metal in seafood, there's metal in our soils, there's metal from the manufacturing of processed foods, there's metal in our water, both fresh and salt. So it honestly would be really, 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 really hard to not have a lot of metal in your body these days. So what determines whether any form of metal is going to create problems or not? And it's not just the flu that's the concern here. A lot of chronic challenges that we see that are in epidemic proportions can logically be traced to the same exact theory. There's a lot of valid research that's been conducted over the last 25 or more years that's linking Alzheimer's and dementia to metal in the body, metal in the brain. A little sidebar, the current theory on memory is that memory is believed to be non-local. And I talk about this quite extensively in the Source Energy Medicine online workshops. But the short version is the brain is now believed to be much more of a transmitter and a receiver, and not where memory is stored. And it's believed that there are certain types of metals that interfere with ideal transmission and reception, leading to a lot of cognitive processing and memory challenges. So, back to my question, what determines whether any form of metal is going to create problems or not? I should probably back up a little bit just in case you're not familiar with source energy medicine and how I view dis-ease as well as well-being. I've adopted Dr. David Hawkins' scale of 0 to 1,000 to calibrate aspects of our being. The main reason why I use this scale is because on this scale, 200 is the dividing line between helpful and not helpful. And it's important to point out, it's important for you to know, according to Dr. David Hawkins' research, 87% of the human population calibrate below 200. It's also important for you to know that all pathogens, all dis-ease, they all calibrate below 200. So if you think about it, ideally we have friendly bacteria that we recently realized are essential to our physical well-being, which is kind of funny because we've waged a war against bacteria for the last 20 or more years. Think about all the antibacterial products that are on the market. There certainly are unfriendly bacteria like Salmonella that can absolutely lead to acute challenges. And guess where the unfriendly bacteria all calibrate? Hopefully you guessed it right, below 200. The intention of source energy medicine, specifically the bacteria transformation formula, is to simply shift the vibrational pattern, the energetic pattern, from below 200 to above 200. Then that very same bacteria that was causing illness now promotes well-being and helps to digest food, for example, in your gut, in your microbiome. So the transformation process is very similar to the principles of yin and yang in that everything has an equal and opposite calibrating aspect. So now that you know that, back to my question, and if you've been paying attention, the answer should be pretty obvious by now. What determines whether any form of metal is going to create problems or not is based on the calibration of the water in my body, because the calibration of the water in my body will, to a very large degree, determine what it attracts, as well as determine what is a challenge, as well as what is benign. It all has to do with the calibration of the water in my body, the water in my cells, the water in my organs and functions and systems. At energy levels below 200, a lot of mercury fillings in the mouth, for example, can be debilitating. And at a high enough energy level, it's a completely different scenario. That which is toxic to a body when it calibrates low becomes either completely neutral and in many cases beneficial at higher energy levels. So we, as humans, are once again being exposed to a new stress, a new threat to our well-being, physically, economically, socially, and morally, and I sure hope that this all makes sense to you. 5G is actually calibrating the water in the physical aspect of our being to the exact same frequency as COVID-19. If you want to check for yourself, if you practice dowsing or kinesiology, you can use that to calibrate 5G, calibrate the satellites, the receivers, all the technology. For me, it all calibrates the same. And yes, your electronic devices magnify everything as well as the metal in your body. So those who experience COVID-19 will, because the calibration of the water in their bodies is very, very close, if not an exact match up to the calibration of COVID-19. And again, it's G5 that is tuning the body to that same frequency. Those who do not or will not experience the signs or symptoms, think back to my earlier statement, you know, Dr. David Hawkins' research, 87% of the human population calibrates below 200. So my tests indicate that there are over 5 billion on this planet who calibrate close enough to the vibration of COVID-19 that they're at very high risk. So I think it's important for me to point out, just in case you don't know, I share everything that's essential to your journey with Source Energy Medicine for free, so that everyone around the world who's interested in a safe, natural approach to self-healing has access to Source Energy Medicine technology. You know, the harsh reality is otherwise, even if it were $10 US, over 2 billion people around the world would not have access to Source Energy Medicine. They'd be excluded, and it just seems so unfair. Beyond that, to support everyone, I do offer online workshops for those who are either integrative wellness practitioners or those who simply want to learn how to master Source Energy Medicine so they can maximize the gifts within Source Energy Medicine to help themselves, their family, and their friends. And just literally last week, out of demand from our community, I put together a special master class. You know, everyone wants to know what can be done proactively, also known as prophylactically, to help to ensure health and well-being in these crazy and very uncertain times, as well as a step-by-step Source Energy Medicine protocol should signs or symptoms arise. Now, since this pandemic is far from over and will likely be in shelter in place at least for a few more weeks, I've left registration open, and I have added weekly live webinars so that you'll have access to not only the content in the masterclass, but you'll also have a weekly opportunity to be able to ask me questions live in real time and from the safety and comfort of your own home. So I'll include a link to the registration page below this player, as well as a link to our free content so you can access all of our technology. It's all very well organized inside a free Source Energy Medicine mini course. It's known as the Source Energy Medicine Quick Start Guide. So I know that was a lot in a short amount of time. This might be the kind of clip that would be helpful to watch again. I do indeed hope that you find this information helpful and empowering, and I hope it inspires you to learn more about Source Energy Medicine, learn more about calibrated energy levels. I have a video on our YouTube channel that's all about calibrated energy levels and how they impact every aspect of my life. That's all I have for you today in this clip. I wish you continued blessings on your journey with Source Energy Medicine. Bye for now.